It's time for MacBreak Weekly, ladies and gentlemen. The geniuses are leaving Cupertino. Apple is blocking Rollout. And Vault 7, what does it mean for those of us who use Mac devices? It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 550, recorded Tuesday, Pi Day, March 14th, 2017. Refurb Macness. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Squarespace. Make your next move. Make your next website with Squarespace's all-in-one platform. Visit squarespace.com and enter the offer code MacBreak for a free trial and 10% off. And by FreshBooks, the ridiculously easy-to-use cloud accounting software used by over 10 million small business owners. Try it free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/MacBreak. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you could post to 200-plus job boards, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we talk about the Mac. Rene Ritchie is here. I don't know what I turned into.
Max Headroom. Max
Headroom there. Rene Ritchie is here from imore.com in Montreal. Did you guys, is a great snowstorm of 2017 going that far north or no?
It started, yeah. I went out to lunch, came out, my car was covered in snow. So apparently it's going to hit worse tonight.
Nice.
Daylight losing time, snowstorms. I just want my spring back, Leo.
Also with us from a closet in Atlantic City, don't ask.
It's my special safe place. Outside is the snow that wants to harm me.
Why in the blizzard of 2017 would you take a train to Atlantic City?
I'm giving a talk at this really cool conference of people who own and run summer camps.
Oh, how fun!
So I literally finished my talk about a half an hour ago, scooped up my stuff, ran into, on my way out, trying to run back here, encountered two really lovely Twit listeners. Nice. Wanted to say hi, and I had to. Of course, I was going to stop and say hi and sign their tag. But yeah, it was really fun. I got to tell them the story about how I got cheated on my ability, my right to take the sailing class 1 year at camp because the counselor made me stay back and redo all the morning dishes on the morning I was supposed to take my proficiency test.
We actually have somebody here with us who works at the best camp in the world, App Camp for Girls. Kelly Guimont is also here from Smile Software and Mac Observer. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Wow.
Great to be here.
We got two campers.
Good morning, campers.
That's nice. Somebody says you look like you look like Joan Cusack in 16 Candles.
Which
awesome.
Is hands down the nicest thing anyone said to me.
Isn't that
today.
a sweet thing to say? Golly.
Yeah. I think she's fantastic. So
me too.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Me
Any
too.
era Joan Cusack really makes me happy.
I'm with
Which is funny because my shirt is from a John Cusack movie.
What?
Sort of.
Say anything. Ray anything.
No.
Oh, great.
Oh, that's very funny. That's hysterical. A little mashup.
I thought by wearing my presentation clothes, I would win the fashion round today. But Kelly, you win. You win.
You win.
I'm wearing
I may as well
bits
take
today.
off this stupid
In honor of
jacket.
security. There we go.
Nice.
Agile bits.
I got nothing. I don't wear brands.
I don't know. You get bonus points for suspenders, Leo.
I do have
You
suspenders.
are a brand, Leo.
Yeah. And I was wearing my plantation hat earlier because I'm going to make you all feel bad because where you've got 3 feet of snow, it's like 80 degrees outside. Beautiful.
Lovey, get the elephant. Lovey.
Where's my pith helmet? I can't find it.
I thought you were posing for a rum ad.
Yeah.
It really is this kind of weather in Petaluma. I feel so bad for you guys. Suffering.
Back in Prohibition, they thought they'd stop the rum exports.
And he's stripping down. That's good. That's good. So, big news from Mac Rumors. I don't know whether to credit it or not. Joe Rossignol writing, Apple expected to announce new products as soon as next week. This actually comes from a number of analysts, including Ming-Chi Kuo at KGI Securities, who's very good on the supply chain. Barclays analyst Blaine Curtis, Japanese blog Mac Otakara, so does that seem credible? As soon as next week? We mentioned that April 4th date last week, but that seemed like a made-up date based on...
no comment something without no commenting it. How do you walk that line? I think we'll be busy. I think we'll be busy.
They think we'll be busy. Okay, next week you think, huh?
Yeah, I think we'll have a hell of a show.
There won't be, it seems. I mean, maybe it will, but as we inch our way into March, here we are on Pi Day, March 14th. It seems less and less likely that there'll be an event. I guess they could announce it next week.
Maybe in April. I don't think there's any way they'll have a March event now.
Yeah.
Maybe in April. Keep hope alive.
The supply chain says, keep hope alive. That's what the supply chain says. The supply chain says, look for the analysts. Let's see. According to reputable supply chain analysts that Mac Rumors spoke to, who wish to remain anonymous, new products between Monday, March 20th and Friday, March 24th. The analysts say information from their own sources, not based on other reports. We're expecting perhaps a trio of new iPad Pros, including one that I think sounds very intriguing, a 10.5-inch model. That would be the same size as
I don't know if that one will be ready.
As the current Air, but with smaller bezels. You don't think that's the one we're going to see?
I think we'll see the Mac Pro bumps with the 10X with the A10 chipset. I don't know if the bezel-less one is ready. That might be
so a 9.7-inch, not an Air though, a Pro. Is the Air dead? The iPad Air?
It's low cost. I mean, it's for what it's the one that, because there's always bulk buyers, people in enterprise or people in schools who just don't need features. They just need literally blank pieces of glass, and the cheaper and the less specs they can get in them, the better, which is why the iPad 2 and the iPad mini stood around for so long. And now the Air is this generation's 2.
I think the Air is the new 2. That's my stance on it as well.
Andy?
They're just going to continue to sell it because everything at this point that they make on the OG Air is just gravy. They've done all the R&D, they've got all the parts, whatever. I think they're just going to keep making them. Like, remember, wasn't it like the iPhone 4S that just would not go away? I think that's where we're going to be with the original Air.
You disagree, Andy?
Well, only that that's a category where Apple's having its butt handed to them by pretty much everybody else. They're having trouble selling to enterprise because, again, you can get Windows notebooks for a lot less money than that. They used to be selling them to schools, but again, schools overwhelmingly want Chromebooks, not iPads, because they're too expensive. And people want a little cheap ebook readers from Kindle, but they don't necessarily want a media device. I think the iPad Mini has a better chance of hanging around than the iPad Air, and we can't omit memories of all of the money that they're spending on ads trying to convince us that the iPad Pro is as good as a laptop, which by implication is saying it's better than a laptop than a Mac and a laptop. Because if we were trying to sell you Macs as laptops, we'd advertise those. No, we're going to try to sell you iPads. Please, we believe in iPads.
On the other hand, as Kelly says, you probably got them in stock. You might as well just put them on the price list. See if anybody bites. Doesn't cost you anything to do that, does it? It
lowers the price of entry, which is one of the marketing tactics you can do to get people.
Yeah, you want to be able to say starting at $195 or whatever.
Precisely.
Right. The iPad Mini does a good job of that.
That's true. I hope they keep the Mini around. Any chance of proifying the Mini?
Yeah, sure, but what does that do to their price point too? Because you're putting a lot more technology into it. Like you're putting the pencil and you're putting the smart connector, and I hope they hold prices on it. But we did see prices rise a little bit when they did Pro the other models. You pro something? Is that a verb? Am I allowed verbing that, Kelly?
Proify. I said proify.
Proification.
Proification. I like that.
Proification is totally a verb. The judges will allow it.
Into a pro spiral. Like a shame spiral.
Just proing everything. You get a pro. You get a pro. iPhone's getting a pro.
I really like the idea of doing that because it would be sort of almost like an auxiliary Wacom tablet in some ways.
Like Field Notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, isn't it?
that would be a
Isn't
really great way to continue to get mileage out of that form factor.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me that Apple doesn't just buy Duet Display and say this is a feature of the entire iPad line that we can use it as an external, not only just an external screen, but also as an external tablet.
But they don't.
I really think that that's the potential that the touch bar had and didn't really capitalize on. If I could just buy a $400 iPad Mini and not only have a nice compact movie reader and a book reader and internet device, but also have a second screen for my laptop and also have a really cool like a 3D input device with contextual buttons and explanations and tooltips. That's interesting. But thank you for giving us the no escape key, not actually centered on the keypad. It's
an internet. It's an internet device. It's a second screen. It's an internet communicator. Are you getting it?
It's a digital thermometer. It's
Ming Chi Kuo.
It's a volume bar.
The aforementioned Blaine Curtis of Barclays and Mac Otakara all say there will be a new 7.9-inch model to replace the Mini 4. Is that the same size as the Mini 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just
7.9.
update for the Mini.
Yeah.
Otakara said iPad Pro will be announced, but also an iPhone SE with 128 gig storage and new Apple bands. You might as well throw in new Apple bands. Why not?
Well, I mean, the watch bands are seasonal now. Like they do those every spring and every fall because they always want to have that sort of fashion.
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
I'm ready for a new band.
You remember that scene in the paper chase where Professor Houseman wanted to make a really clear point of how annoyed he was with his student, Mr. Hart, he had his hand up to answer a question and he pointedly called on every student sitting in front of him, behind him, to the left of him, to the right of him, and did not call on him. I think that maybe Apple's doing the same kind of power trip towards Macs. Let's see, we updated the iPads, and we're updating the watch, and we're updating a phone that we didn't seem to care about. We're going to introduce new watch bands, and we're going to have a new pen in the Apple Store. Let's see, is there any other important product that we haven't updated? No, I can't think of it. Okay, go home, everybody.
They usually update the MacBook. They announced it 2 years ago in March. They updated it 1 year ago in March. So we'll probably see the Kaby Lake version of the MacBook Nothing, and probably maybe the Kaby Lake versions of the iMac and some of the other Macs as well.
When is Product Red? When do the new Product Reds come out? Is it spring?
Those just depend on what Apple's doing with the Red marketing campaigns. Like they did a huge Product Red campaign in the fall, but they announce those whenever they think it's a good product match for it. And
So
they had a rumor of
red
iPhone
5,
years.
red iPhone SE, right?
Every Christmas since iPhone 3G, Leo, they've had a rumor of a Product Red.
I would buy a red phone, even if I don't need one.
I'd buy it so hard.
Yeah.
I would. Oh, so much.
Well, here at our focus group,
I have the red leather case now because I like that the red with the white front basically gives me a Hello Kitty communicator. That makes me really happy.
Okay.
Maybe they're saying that we really, really do want to help people in medical need, but we're just not satisfied with this shade of red. We'll work on it. Come back to us next year. We'll have a great new shade of red.
They've done so many reds.
I think the Christmas Product Red rumor gets going every year because they do the big thing in the App Store for World AIDS Day, which is December 1st.
Okay.
So I think that's where the Christmas stuff comes from. Like if you're going to do all the Product Red in the
that's when
iTunes
Bono
App Store
shows up
and the
at
Mac App Store.
Yeah.
Like bonus levels for Monument Valley. Like we got all that stuff as part of World AIDS Day, and I think that's probably
December.
where the hardware stuff happens is because rumors get started.
Right. That's what I was wondering. So maybe not. Maybe this spring. Who knows? Well, just I'm just throwing spaghetti against the wall here. I would very much like to see some new stuff. How about?
That's all press release stuff. I mean, like the 128
gigabyte
SKU for iPhone, SE. That's just now available with more memory.
How about Macs though? We have not. When's the last Mac event? Touch Bar MacBook Pro.
Yeah, that was October.
But how about iMacs or Mac Pros?
iMac was the previous October. Mac Pro was 4 years ago at WWDC.
Sorry, Nathan, I didn't.
Are we salting a wound right now?
Well, I bought one, okay, and I would probably still use it if I had been able to upgrade it a little bit, but I can't. So I gave it to Nathan.
So say we all.
I gave it to our newest employee. Yeah. So there. And by the way,
sort of.
Here, have a Mac Pro. We're not going to give you a computer, just a Mac Pro.
It's an objet d'art, Leo. It's going to be something that's next to the G4 Cube on a lot of shelves.
I know I will regret it because I regretted giving away the Cube too. You know, I had the Cube.
I love the Cube.
If I had that now, I would be, I don't know, on a pedestal somewhere. I wouldn't be using it.
I have mine in my office within reach. I've been tempted to use the case and turn it to something else, but I can never do it because it's just one of the most beautiful Macs Apple's ever made and one of the most beautiful computers. Yeah. It's up there with the Cray 1, I think.
Well, and I'll be honest, I think the Trash Can Mac is the most beautiful Mac I've ever seen. It's gorgeous. It's just not practical.
I'm convinced Stephen Hackett runs Relay FM off a bunch of G4 Cubes. I can't prove it.
Do you all do podcasts for Relay FM?
I do not, but I have a ton of respect for them.
Okay, good.
They're good people.
It's like you know, Belichick discovering that Tom Brady's been working for the Jets on the side. You know, just like
I've been downsizing, Leo. I find it like I like doing MacBreak. I like doing like a show on my own, and then I feel like I run out of things to say.
No, I'm teasing. The logs show. The log shows that new iPad models are being used.
Dum dum dum.
Bum bum bum. This comes from a mobile marketing term called, kind of an unapt name, Fixu.
They're running out of words to patent now, trademark.
Fixu.
A lot of developers can tell what devices are hitting their apps. It's just most of them don't discuss that stuff because it's sort of proprietary information. Yeah. But some of them don't mind.
They're seeing kind of a 10-ish kind of numbers,
They see the number. So like you'll see whatever, like iPad 5,9 or something. You'll say, well, that's not a normal iPad model. And then you'll be able to derive by the first number what the generation is. And by the common number, whether it's like an LTE SKU or a Wi-Fi SKU or one of the other variants.
So about a month ahead of the last iPad Pro launches, it saw internal model names 6,3/6,4 and 6,7/6,8. This time around, it's seeing 7,1, 7,2, 7,3, and 7,4, and a comma chameleon.
There are probably only the mini, the regular, the Pro, and the new one.
Yeah, but very few. Fixu says, I got to say that carefully. Fixu says they've only seen 5 7.3s, 10 7.4s, 11 7.2s, but they've seen a 17 7.1s. But that's about what you'd expect. But I mean, I would think, wouldn't you see more as you got closer to ship, or are they just still, you know, like a few of the engineers have them, or?
They're good at hiding it, so it's probably just once in a while it slips through. It's the same, like if you look at your server logs, you'll see iOS 12 or something in there, or iOS 11. You'll see those things in there. They're just very few, and they all happen to be in the Cupertino area of California, so it's not surprising.
So, what's the one you guys would buy? What are you holding out for?
I'd love to see a smaller iPad that works with Pencil. I'm traveling with. I needed my laptop because of the podcast, so I left my iPad Pro at home, and I almost left the house with my Apple Pencil in a case in my pocket because I'm so used to taking it with me to like make notes on. Even though I'm just using the iPad Mini, I would use the hell out of an iPad Mini Pro that has Apple Pencil support.
Kelly, what would you like to see?
Profile Mini.
Profile
I really
Mini.
think that's the sweet spot for a lot of people. What I would really like to see, I personally would Jones pretty hard for a Mini that has Pro features, but I also like the idea of there being still a not Pro Mini with some sort of spec bump. If for no other reason than it makes it easier to reel people into the Apple ecosystem, like we were talking about earlier with the mobile stuff. You know, it's just like my phone, but it's a little bit bigger. You know, I can see Candy Crush better or whatever it is I want to do, you know, and having that opportunity, I think is really great. It's part of why I think lots of people have a Kindle, even if they have it in conjunction with other stuff, whether it's a Kindle, straight up ebook Kindle, or a Kindle Fire that does a little bit more. I think that's how they're reeling people in, is, you know, and helping hook people on that ecosystem.
What do you think, Rene? What are you jonesing for these days?
So I'm the worst because I would love that highly portable, tiny iPad Pro, you know, Tiny Pro, but I draw and I really want a big canvas for drawing, and that's what makes the 12.91 so compelling for me, even though it's much bigger to lug around.
Yeah.
But I'm really waiting for the bezel-less iPad, because that solves the same problem that the iPhone does. Right now when the screens get bigger, the devices get bigger,
right,
and that makes them harder to take around, harder to put in a pocket, harder to hold in your hand. So if you increase the screen without increasing the casing size, you get the benefits of like I'll hopefully get the big iPad Pro screen benefits in the 9.7 inch size, and that'll be super exciting for me.
How do you hold on to it if it doesn't have a bezel?
So they're really good at palm rejection. They just read the 3D mapping information from the capacitive display and reject anything that doesn't feel like it's an actual input gesture. So I'll just hold it. Like I'll be unabashedly held, Kelly, and I'll just use it with the pencil.
I was concerned when Samsung did their Galaxy S6 and then S7 with the curved edge around. You're always holding the screen, and they managed to make it work. Occasionally, you'll get weird effects if you hold it, but you can do it. And those are even less bezel. I mean, those are no bezel, right? They're really going all the way around.
Right.
I just hope that if they put more pixels on the screen, that it wouldn't cut down on battery life. Because one of the things that makes my iPad so great is that I don't even, if it's 100%, I don't even care for the rest of the day.
OLED should do that, though. I think OLED will mitigate the difference in the pixel counts.
Now you're talking about the phone, though, not the iPad.
No, I think I mean, it's so hard. They don't have the same problems. The problem with the phone is that 3D Touch is dependent on LED, so they have to redesign the way that 3D Touch works on the phone by using a new film sensor, and that greatly complicates the engineering. Where with an iPad, they don't have to worry about 3D Touch. So that's a simple sort of swap and replace, and nothing is trivial, but it's a simple swap and replace of screen technologies.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that if they do that, they'll go OLED across. If they can make enough screens, it's a smaller selling product, so it shouldn't be as hard to manufacture.
Yeah.
Everything's easy when you're just commenting, Leo.
I'm kind of feel like for me, I bought the big 12.9 inch and it was just too big. And then I got the iPad mini, which is too small. So I love the idea of an iPad Air size, a 9.7 inch, but with a 10.5 inch screen. That'll be just right. That's the one I want. I don't use, ironically, I'm not an artist, so I understand why, you would want a bigger screen, but I don't need a bigger screen. It's mostly for my eyes. I want. You're right. Candy Crush should look better, Kelly. That's really the only.
Well, it's not just that. I love the workspace. It doesn't seem like that would be much smaller than the 12.9, but I was finishing my my presentation last night, and I just missed the idea of having a true split screen. Not I've just adjusted the margins of the windows so they don't really overlap, but oh no, I just tabbed in something else and something's popped in the front. The ability to simply say, here is my presentation app. Over to the right, here is a web browser, so I can just double check some data or make sure I have the spelling of something right. It just felt so cumbersome having to command tab between apps and between windows all the time, when I should just have I only need Keynote, I only need Chrome, and that's what's going to make things happen for me. So if they made it smaller, I don't think they'd ruin it, but I really love that screen real estate, and I would really love to get another one of the same size. Same size screen. If they reduce the bezel.
You mean get a 12.9 inch screen on a smaller bezel-less?
Yeah. Even if you were just to cut it down to 10.5, I would have to see how. Of course, you have to square the dimensions, so it might really feel a lot smaller. I've used regular 9.7 inch iPads in split screen mode, and it's nice, but it's really like, oh, isn't it great that you're cramming so much into a small screen? Whereas the 12.9 is, luxury.
Yeah.
I'm in a comfy chair.
Yeah. If you don't have to carry it anywhere. I feel like I made him sneeze.
Asbestos.
He was so excited he had a nose orgasm. Good job. Okay.
I want to follow up on Andy's point, though. Like I've spent some time with an iPad Pro, the 12.9, and I own myself an original Air and a Mini, and I find that when I want to use the Pro, it's sort of, I keep looking over because it's right over there. I find that I feel like I have to sit down and use it like it's more of an event, like when I sit down to use my computer. And even with the Air at 9.7 or the Mini, I feel way more comfortable like walking around with those. And I don't know if it's a combination of, I know this one's way more expensive, or if it's, I don't feel like I can use it unless I'm sitting down and it's on a stable surface, whether that's my lap or a table or whatever, or like what it is about it. But when I carry around the iPad Pro, I don't feel like I can do anything until I'm not like walking around or something. So like I've done, network troubleshooting and stuff around the house using network monitors and things. And when I'm doing that, I'm way happier doing that kind of stuff on a Mini or on the Air because I can carry it around a lot more easily. It's way more portable.
Was just clunky as heck. I thought
9.7 is like a real convertible. You just you use it and then you pull off that thing and you're holding an
that's
iPad.
why a
It doesn't
10.5 inch screen on that size body would be so cool. So cool.
So excite.
Yeah. So anyway, we may not see. You say they would announce it with everything else, right? But then say, but it'll be available in June or something.
I think if they had it, there'd be more impetus to have a March event. So I think that's something you show off on stage. That's
a big
something
deal.
Phil Schiller shows and talks about. But I think if there's no event in March, and I don't think there will be one, that'll be the spec bumps. And then maybe if it's ready in April or later, they have an event.
Sure.
Then
that makes sense. Somebody's pointed out in the chat room, I think quite astutely, that the move into the Spaceship Campus starts in April. So you might want to get anything done before then, because people will be busy packing boxes.
And Dub is going to hit us in June.
Dub hits us in June. And don't you want to kind of, maybe this is not true, but I would think you would also want to hit, people are going to start getting tax refunds in the next month or two. Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that kind of, that's around iPad money?
And,
that's kind of iPad money. And education would be later in the year, wouldn't it? But
I don't know. People say that, but then whenever I've heard them say, like, so Apple needs to get stuff out by September, the response is typically, oh, that's way too late. We start planning that stuff in the early spring, if not beginning of the year.
Sure. Yeah.
The timeline that I'm most familiar with is May. That's usually when they try to get purchase orders in and they try to word the contract.
You want to do it from the previous school year, not during the summer vacation. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's take a break. I think we've really chewed the rumor mill as so thoroughly that it's indistinguishable at this point from an old piece of rawhide. So,
although Leo and I will both ask Apple for some more bands for the white edition, just anything else that goes with that white edition, the ceramic edition.
This is the original band, which is rubber. I mean, you pay $1,200 for a watch and you get a rubber band.
So the reason for that is because it color matches. That's the only one that they could accurately match the whites to. And that's super important because the leather one is not the same white, and some people find that intolerable. I put on the single deployment on mine, and I found out a lot of watch companies put deployments on ceramic watches now because you never open them, so there's much less chance they'll fall off and hit tiles and shatter and things.
I just think it's really
that Apple.
This is as obnoxious as it gets, isn't it, Andy?
Oh wait,
I'm just saying. I think it's adorable that you're trying to tart up this thing, which is clearly the Herb Tarlick edition watch. You should have the
matches my
belt. You should have the white shoes
and my hat,
and then red and orange plaid jacket and pants.
I don't know. I think this is a handsome combo. I'm going to stick with it.
It's growing on me. You wouldn't think a white watch would be, but it's growing on me. And I don't know. I'm ready for some new bands. The nice thing about white is you could use it with any other color, right? You just don't want to.
Totally.
You can't match it with anything but a fluoroelastomer band.
The woven nylons look really nice because they have colored looks and like the blues and the pinks and the.
That's what I use. I have a couple of different woven nylons. This though is what I work out in because I'm going to sweat. I want a fluoroelastomer.
Well, the white nylons are really good for workouts too.
Which one? The white nylon?
The great thing about the white watch is that if you have the gold watch, yes, you paid $12,000 for it, but the people who see you down the street think that, oh, he probably bought a Casio gold tone watch for $30. But if you have the white one, there's only one white Apple watch, and that's the one that costs a lot of money, and everybody knows, oh, he's a man of style and class and distinction, and he has money for a ceramic watch. Isn't he fancy?
He
piled upon the belly of the watch all his hate and all his anger, and if his chest were a cannon, he would spurt his heart out upon it.
This Casio stainless steel watch that I paid $12 for on Amazon, that I'm getting the same amount of respect as people who spent $700 for a stainless steel.
Here's,
our
ladies and gentlemen,
together.
Herb Tarlick. Apparently with an early iPad prototype.
Hey, is that the new iPad? Yeah.
Living on the air in Cincinnati, WKI.
I want that hair. That hair is back, baby.
Oh, it is. It's totally Hasselhoff.
It's a Hasselhoff hair. That's from an old TV show. Folks wouldn't probably
Kids
know.
Go to Wikipedia, but on your Windows phone, not on your Chromebook.
Yeah. Thank God for YouTube. I'm just saying, thank God for YouTube. You can see all this stuff can be brought back and lives on.
Properly licensed music.
God is my witness. I thought Apple Watches could fly.
Here's a little more appropriate Herb Tarlick with the white belt. I think a white Apple Watch would go so well with that outfit.
Yeah, with the light blue band.
That's pretty high fashion for Herb Tarlick, if I'm not mistaken.
That looks so good. And maybe I should get a dresser and just say, go back, get all of Herb Tarlick's wardrobe. That's how I want to. That's how I want to dress. It'd be a look.
Oh, it would certainly be something.
It'd be a look. Here's for the this is the cranberry version of Herb Tarlick. I have to get the.
We just need the chains. We need something to put Apple Watches around our necks.
There you go. That's the Herb. That's the Herb I want the action
boy.
I just want the I want the Flavor Flav collection. Is what I'm looking for.
I threatened to build an app for the iPad so that you could put it on a chain around your neck and bring that back.
My
that
boss,
was what I wanted
Crackberry
to do.
Kevin, used to wear a BlackBerry playbook on a chain around his neck. I have footage.
Really?
On a gold chain, yes.
Just like Flava Flav.
Just quick hit, man. Quick hit.
What's the necktie doing? That's an interesting...
It's trying to get away. Trying to escape.
It's escaping.
It's running for its life.
He liked the plaids, did old Herb.
Wow.
I'm just glad everyone stopped playing Zelda long enough to do the show today. That was.
I have to say, I got my Nintendo Switch, and it took me a week to pry it away from the kids. But once I did, last night I got a comfy in bed, got all comfortable for a fire in the fireplace, and fired up Zelda. That's a fun game.
I'm not expecting any app updates for the next 2 weeks because all the developers I see on Twitter are just playing Zelda.
It's really fun, and I never, I'm not of the Zelda generation. I never played it before, and
James Thompson.
Oh, jeez.
I know people are saying you're going to be spoiled now because you can't go back and play older Zeldas. This is it's quite engaging.
My little godson, he tried it on the Switch, but he doesn't have access to it all the time. So now he's playing it on the Game Boy, the original one. He started from the beginning, and to him it's the same because they're all new.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
I like the portability. It's a little weird. I mean, it's like playing a game on a tablet. I mean, it's just square.
And they should be ashamed of their DRM. They should just be ashamed of it.
And the DRM, that's a shame. You're right. The screen.
All game companies should, though. I mean, let's be honest.
I know.
Shame. I want to walk behind them like Game of Thrones and just yell shame. Shame on my game save data. Shame on my game save data.
Shame. Our show today brought to you by those great folks at Squarespace, the place to make your next move, make your next website, make it beautiful. Whether you're a chef and you want to showcase your culinary creations, a photographer and you want to have a stunning portfolio, maybe you're a band or a musician, you want to share it and have your fans have calendar access and buy CDs or buy digital downloads. You could do it all at Squarespace. Tell your story, pursue your passion project, make your next move known with Squarespace. Squarespace starts with great templates. Now, they look good because Squarespace has fabulous designers. And they're just a starting point. You're going to make it your own. That's one of the great things about Squarespace. Every site looks unique. But also, there's more to the template than just how it looks. The engineering behind it is super sophisticated. In effect, if you were going to build a website, you could go out and do as we did, spend several $100,000 getting designers and engineers together. And then 6 months later, everything changes, right? Styles change, technologies change, and you got to do it all over again. Or you can go to Squarespace, you can use the best designers, the best engineers, and it keeps it up to date. It keeps it constantly reflecting the latest style, the latest technology. Things like, for instance, they've got templates for news organizations, the kind of the infinite scroll templates. You've got images and galleries and videos and audio. RSS is built in. You can publish content directly from your blog. You can update it once and then share it simultaneously across social media platforms. I love how you can link in all of your social media platforms, including, yes, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and just every time you publish, it automatically goes out to there if you want. There on every post, you can have, of course, the share buttons, even pin it buttons, Pinterest pin it buttons. So your visitors help you promote your site by sharing your content. That's really important. Squarespace provides the marketing tools to engage your audience through contact and sign-up forms, applications, surveys, email campaigns, and newsletters. Yes, MailChimp is integrated into Squarespace. Actually, a lot of services are integrated into Squarespace. So you can promote events with a calendar or a list of events. You can let visitors RSVP from your website. You can do e-commerce. In fact, there's no better e-commerce platform. It's the only one that makes your store look like it's part of your site. You know, a lot of times a store looks like an afterthought or something a third party provided or hanging off of your site. Not at Squarespace. Commerce is integrated into every platform beautifully. No limit on the number of products or services you can sell. Squarespace Analytics give you visual reports so you can see immediately page views, conversions, what content's popular. You can recover lost sales with automatic emails to customers who abandon checkout. I know customers, including my wife, who will do that, by the way. They'll put stuff in the cart and then wait until they get a discount code in the email, because that's what a lot of vendors do. It's what you can do with Squarespace. Say, hey, we noticed you selected some stuff but didn't buy. What if we gave you 10% off? You could do that with Squarespace, too. Squarespace has your next move covered with free unlimited hosting, top-of-the-line security, enterprise-grade infrastructure, and around-the-clock support. Make your next website. Make your next move. Go to squarespace.com and use the offer code MacBreak. Get 10% off when you use the offer code MacBreak. Squarespace.com. That's where my site is, leolaporte.com. And I just, it's so easy. I gotta post more. I want to post more stuff there. One thing I have done on my Squarespace site is I've updated a list of all my audiobooks that I've ever listened to on Audible are there. Almost 500 titles, and I've updated some more. You know, I just started just finished another one that I really love. I got to add that to I'll blog that, called Lincoln in the Bardo. Man, was that a good book. And it was this is not an Audible ad. They didn't buy an ad today, but it has 166 different readers, performers, including Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman, who's one of the leads, David Sedaris. It's so good. It's so good. I'm sorry.
I wonder how long it's going to be before they can get DNA information from Lincoln, grow a throat, and then have him read his own book.
I know. Wouldn't that be cool? Lincoln, it's a beautiful book. It's not what you expect. It's the first novel from a guy who's renowned as a short story author, and it's a little fantasy, not sci-fi, but fantasy. Takes place all in one night in 1862. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil it for you.
I don't know how it ends.
I am so sad. One of the things that I really, every year I would look forward to Apple geniuses visiting our studio. They'd always be kind of coy. And I'd say, what do you do? And they say, well, you know, I'm in technology.
In retail.
And then I could always tell. I say, you work for the fruit company, don't you? And they said, yeah. You're out here for training, aren't you? Yeah. They used to do genius training at One Infinite Loop. For years they did that, 3 weeks or longer. Sometimes people would be out here all summer. They're going to stop doing that. They're going to do it all in store with a self-guided experience using company-provided reference materials.
Seemed like the same. I mean, I had a lot of friends who did this program. Like I would just, they would surreptitiously start tweeting or Instagramming from the South Bay area, and you'd kind of know that they were there for intensive training.
Yeah.
And they all seem to like it and really benefit from it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure this is efficient, but it's not the same.
It's team building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they get a trip to the mothership. What's like you work for Apple and you get a trip to the mothership. What's a better way of building your love for Apple than that?
And they were all so happy, and a lot of them would take that opportunity to visit other Silicon Valley places and, you know, kind of get to know the Bay Area, come up here and see us.
And they give half their money back to Cafe Max anyway. I mean,
right.
The company store.
Here's a quote from an Apple retail employee. This is from Mac Rumors. Apple's Genius Training Program was for years a rite of passage for Apple retail employees. Not only a training opportunity, but a chance to visit one of Apple's corporate campuses, because I guess they also did it in Austin, to get questions answered at the source, and for those who headed to Cupertino to experience Silicon Valley and the Apple culture. The traditional selfie in front of One Infinite Loop was a milestone in the career of every Apple genius, but not any more. They're also adding a new retail position that is below genius, above technical specialist, which has been around for a while, called technical expert.
Smarty Pants was trademarked by somebody else.
Smarty Pants is already taken. I think Microsoft has that one.
You got to figure, like, some people are like, oh, well, at least I'm not going to think I'm going to Cupertino and end up in Austin anymore. At least
that would be a bummer, right? Or Cork, Ireland. Actually, I'd take Cork.
No, I got to Austin.
Yeah, I got Austin. I was holding out for Cupertino, and I got Austin. Actually, Austin's a lot more fun than Cupertino. There are advantages. Mm-hmm. We're seeing more and more apps using the touch bar on the MacBook Pro. I mentioned last week, my pick of the week last week, the nicest writer. I forgot to mention that One of the cool things is they'd added touch bar support. I don't use it. If I could turn off the touch bar, I would. It just gets in the way. Apple is selling, in fact, this might be something to look at, a 13-inch MacBook Pro without a touch bar. This is from October of last year as a refurb for a pretty good price.
I have both. I have review units that I have neglected to return back, and I end up using the one with the touch bar. And what was interesting to me is that I was sitting there, I was writing a Pokemon Go game guide of all things, and my 8-year-old godson, I was babysitting, came over and said, I want to do that. So I gave him my laptop, and he pulled open tabs, he started doing research, and he was using the touch bar almost like it had always been there on a Mac. He was tapping words. He's like, what is this? Why doesn't the Macs I've seen have this? And he was like, this is great. And just tapping away on it. And then he sent me the stuff that he wrote, and it was like there were no spelling mistakes. There were a bunch of really complete sentences.
That's kind of neat.
And I was super happy with that. And then he was like, can I be a blogger when I grow up? So like I was sold. Totally sold.
So do you but now you say you gravitate towards the MacBook Pro with touch bar, but do you actually use the touch bar?
Yeah, I use it. It's one of those things where I'm continuously delighted that I look at it and I'm going to press the escape key to exit a video, and there's no escape key. There's an actual exit the video button. And especially when a new app adds things. For me, I've just never been good at remembering a multitude of shortcuts, especially with apps like Adobe, where how you do something varies from app to app. Like even simple things like how the clipboard buffer works or how you do simple tasks, it varies completely. And I don't remember them. And if I don't use an app every day, like Text Expander I know and 1Password, all those things, because I use them constantly, but apps that I use weekly, I just never retain them. And now I just glance up and the shortcut's there. And I don't have to remember that you use Command T or whatever in GarageBand and you use Command whatever D or what. I see I'm forgetting what they are now in Final Cut Pro. I just look up, cut, boom, press the button, and it's done. And I don't have to go through the menu system. So for me, it's contextually faster. So I've gotten acclimated to it already.
Okay.
Yeah, I never got used to it.
Me neither.
I'm glad that people have their individual responses to it. I don't think it's objectively bad, but I just always I had kind of like the different an opposite experience from Rene in that I think that shortcuts are the things that I learned because I use this feature so much. I don't even want to have to reach up and touch something. I can just hit Command Shift Option T, and I know what's going to happen right then and there. Whereas with the touch bar, things keep shifting so many times that that flat surface for me mentally is always for buttons that are always there. I don't have to look. I can just push where I always push to get the thing that I want. If I have to go looking to see, well, let's just see what this app is offering me in terms of shortcuts or help, that's wasting time. I guess I think that just simply for whatever reason it just never reached me, you know.
Do you find do you put yours in function key mode so that you don't accidentally hit Siri or the notifications slide out? Or
yeah, I keep trying to use it the way that Apple intended to give it a fair shake, but I really do want to keep it in function key mode. Yeah. I really do want I like the consistency of this is a row of keys that will always be the volume control, that will always be the screen brightness. This will always be to mute things and hit playback. That's just where I want to go. That's really what I want it to be. I also really want the escape key to be right there. And I for as much time as I spend making fun of design wonks, it really bothers me so much that those keys do not extend all the way to the same edge as the physical keyboard. It's like, oh, the Apple that I know that I like to make fun of is the Apple that would have delayed this machine another 3 years just to make sure that they have the same vertical line matching the keyboard.
Pixels.
Yeah, it's a rejection. I just wish there was better rejection because I hit it so I hit it.
That's the only thing that bugs me.
And I don't realize it. Yeah. Like I'll be lightly touching it, and everything else will stop working, and it takes me like 2 seconds to realize that I'm lightly touching it with my other hand, and then I remove that, and everything goes back to working. But every time that happens to me.
Yeah. I mean, I
just want to complain about the touch bar for a minute.
Okay.
So I don't have a machine that has it. What I have is a machine that has a force touch trackpad, and I seem to be the only person who thought that was going to be amazing because nobody's using it. Nobody's doing anything neat with it. It doesn't give me any kind of awesome feedback like they told me it was going to when they debuted this like 2 years ago or whatever it was. And I don't know why. And I want it to be great, but I feel like they sort of went, well, we're not going to do anything with it, so we don't think anyone else is going to. So we're going to give you a new bar at the top because F keys are for Andy and nobody else, I guess. I don't know. But that's the thing that's frustrating to me about it is because I'm like Andy. I started on a PowerBook in the olden days when they were still only 3-digit numbers in the model. And my hands are only this big. And so it was too far to go back and forth to the track ball. Yes, it was a ball in the olden days, kids. And so I started learning keyboard commands in order to be able to do things faster. So I'm still pretty good with a lot of keyboard commands for stuff. So now that we have a trackpad and it's much more proportional to the size of the screen and it's a lot closer to the keyboard, it's a lot easier to use. And I really like that. And I really want the Force Touch to do something cool, and it still doesn't do anything cool, and it doesn't seem like anybody's embraced it. So it was kind of weird to me to see everybody go, ooh, touch bar, touch bar, touch bar, when there's already something awesome that's on every single Mac. And on the new Magic Trackpad, it's also got the Force Touch feedback, even though nobody's using it. And I want that to become a bigger deal. And so far it hasn't. And so that's my rant about the touch bar. It's that way more people have this other technology that nobody's actually getting any mileage out of.
So, I mean, like the big deal with that was they originally wanted to decouple the physical apparatus so that they could move it out from underneath it. If you had the traditional touch bar, first it would only lever one direction, so you couldn't use it as effectively at the top as you could at the bottom. But also it had the sensors underneath it as a physical stack, which limited how thin they could make the front of the computer. So with with Force Touch technology, they can just put the digital switch anywhere, and you can press anywhere on the trackpad. And so that was like, I think, the big driver, and everything else was like an afterthought, and it really shows.
Yeah, and that's where I'm disappointed, because I wanted people to adopt it, and so far I have literally found one thing, and it's if you're in Keynote and you're dragging an element around like an image or a text box or something, and you get to the center, it will sort of buzz you and let you know that you've dragged it like perfectly centered on your slide, and that's like it. That's literally the only time it's ever done anything, which made me go, "What's wrong with my computer? Why is my trackpad buzzing at me? Do I have to take it in?" And I'm like, "Oh." Because then I could see all the lines. I'm like, oh, that's what it's doing. Okay, so one person cares, and that one person works on the Keynote team.
For text expander, could you make it that when I push really hard out of anger, it automatically auto caps everything?
Oh, that's a good idea.
So that way, if I hit the tweet button hard because I'm angry, it just auto caps my tweet. Or if I hit
you need the Hulk smash button.
It would be great because I am so angry. I'm using aggressive force on this button.
I'm
it
using
detects it and just capitalizes.
The physical click on the keyboard, on the trackpad. I'm using it. Yep. I'll talk to the developers. I'll see when I get back to work, I'll see what I can do. How's that?
Awesome.
Kelly, do you like 3D Touch on the phone?
I do. I use it constantly. I think it's great. And that's part of why I'm even more disappointed in the Force Touch on the trackpad, because lots of people are doing all kinds of cool stuff with it on my phone, and my computer feels abandoned in a weird way, I guess. Like it started there because that came out in March, and then it wasn't until that fall that we got 3D Touch on anything. So I really want for it to turn into something cool and, give me some sort of feedback on something when I am using the trackpad. And so far that hasn't happened. And I feel like it's underappreciated in that, like, when the right app comes along and shows what you can do with that, then people will start adopting it, but nobody's done that yet.
This seems to be a problem actually endemic to the computer industry. You see it happen with Apple, but I see it happen with Android and Windows too, where you get the big announcement, the splashy announcement, the new technology, this is going to be great. And then for some reason, there's a disconnect between that and developers. Maybe developers just, hey, we got to get our job done. We don't have time to be doing frippery. But for whatever reason, they don't take advantage of these new features, and they just die on the vine. And I can think of a dozen of them on the Mac, and the same thing on Google. That they have this Google Now tap where it just nothing seems to take advantage of these. The speech recognition assistants, the Echo, the Shlomo, and the OK Goggle. None of those. I don't know if that will trigger a Google thing or not. I don't. Actually, I should try it. OK Goggle. No, it doesn't. Good news.
Computer.
Bullet dodged.
It just went, what? Are you crazy? Are you drunk? Go home. But isn't this? Why is that? Does the company need to put more force behind these products?
There's a marketing there's a marketing term that says you paint the target around the arrow. So like you shoot, Michael Gartenberg is great at explaining this, but basically you shoot a bunch of arrows and the ones that stick, you quickly paint a target around. And so these companies announce things and sometimes they really believe they're going to be great and they just don't get any uptake. And it's where their developers are like, dude, that's the last thing on our list we're going to support. We have 8, 9, or 10 other things. And it's not like that. The trackpads are not ubiquitous. We don't see a lot of utility in it. You made an API. 2 thumbs up for you, but I have a list this long to get to. And then the company doesn't invest back in it because they don't see adoption and it becomes a vicious cycle. And there's only so many hours in the day and so many days in the week to get product out. And I think exactly what you said, they're not consciously abandoned. It was sort of like someone had a neat idea and it shipped and it just didn't go anywhere. So you hear a little bit of a thud.
Yeah.
And
I know exactly. Force touch is one of them, I think.
Yeah, I think the touch bar particularly, you're taking something that if you were to put it on the screen, really wouldn't be that different from having your own little OLED screen separate. But if you had put it on the screen, you could have made this a system-wide resource. But no, you didn't. You just put it onto a couple of really expensive Macs. You've also not made it an emphatic feature by doing so. So I think that if you support this, it means that you didn't come up with, it's not going to be a user interface element that you could not have implemented some other more simple and direct way. So it's not as though this is necessarily going to inspire you to do something new and different. And it also means that you have to accommodate under the same code base users of computers that don't have that user interface element at all. And then I guess my frustration using the MacBook is that it really doesn't seem like they had a brilliant idea for moving the platform forward. It seemed like it was a cool thing to have this OLED screen, and yeah, we could do some things with it. Great, let's do that. They made the trackpad really, really huge, and they're selling that with the idea that, hey, look and see, this is why we keep insisting you don't need a touch screen for a Mac. See, because we're taking all the great things about having an iPad and putting it there in the Mac, and well, no, it's like you've taken a horse and buggy, and you've basically put a 2-wheeled motor in place of the horse. You have not made the step forward of building a really great car. You have made something that has that is as unreliable and slow as a car, and is as big and bulky and ungainly and slow as a horse. So why not just actually take the next step forward and evolve the system instead of just saying, look, we basically grafted 2 things that have the word touch in them onto this thing, and that's how we made our Mac smarter now. Okay.
I understand it's also difficult because we're at peak technology in both computers and phones, and so finding something new to get people excited about is a challenge. I mean, all the obvious stuff is taken now, so you got
put a glowing logo on the back. People will buy billions of them.
Or a red freaking phone. You know, it doesn't have to be a technology feature.
Scratch our Surface. What do you find? More Surface.
But in a way, that explains Apple's turning towards fashion a little bit, because one of the advantages of fashion is you get something new every year, and that's enough to drive people to the market. It's hard to get a new exciting technology every year.
Yeah. And they're all good enough. Like our iPads are good enough. Our Macs are good enough for most people.
Yeah. You know, I actually just bought that refurbished 2016 13-inch without a touch bar.
Yeah.
Because I thought, actually that's what I really want. I don't want the touch bar. And, we have lots of staff.
Is there anything you can't do on it? No. You can do everything you can do on any other computer.
Yeah. And it's also, the 15, I think it was too big for me. I wanted something a little bit smaller. So I ordered that for tomorrow, and I'll just take my 15 will go probably to Lisa, who will then pass her computer on to.
I've told this before, but we got my mom an iPad Air when it came out, and she already had an iPad 2, and she didn't stop using it. She just had high-capacity iPad. She'd use one until it ran out of battery, then she would switch to the other one. And it didn't matter that one had a Retina display or was faster. To her, it was just day and night. And then we got her the iPad Pro, and she reluctantly gave away her 2, but now she uses the Air and the Pro. And again, it doesn't, like, they all
you
do
don't
everything
notice
that
the
she
difference.
needs.
Yeah. That's kind of telling, isn't it? That's kind of
like we do. Like we're like, oh my God, he's got this density display. And
we geeks, we're looking at spec sheets. We're not looking at real world. We're looking at.
She's just like, I pulled up the newspaper site. I pulled up the museum site.
Right.
And it worked.
Right. Well, I'll let you know how that refurb works out. You don't save so much on Apple refurbs. It's a few $100s, but
You get Apple.
That's almost enough for a new pair of Apple headphones.
Hey,
That's almost enough for a new pair of Apple headphones.
Kelly, do you use the AirPods? Because you're not here all the time. It's nice to get some fresh perspective. Do you use those?
I don't, because I have a pair of Bluetooth headphones that I already use and like.
Yeah.
I have the. Oh gosh, what are they called?
It's okay.
They're right here. No,
I can never remember. I bought the ones. I just say the ones Andy recommended. That's
well, full disclosure, I entered a contest from the Wirecutter, and they sent me a pair, and they are JLab Bluetooth headphones.
That's the one Andy recommends.
They're like sport model, and they don't fall out, and they last forever, and they are suitable when I'm doing yard work or if I'm out mowing the lawn and stuff. They're super useful, and I don't have to worry about cables or batteries or anything. So for me, they're pretty great.
I use the Epic 2s because Andy recommended them.
Yes,
right, Andy?
They are the Epics.
One of my favorite features of that is actually they're wired together, but like the controls for volume and mute, they happen to, or at least I've adjusted them so that they fit. They fall right on like the bone behind my ear. So I feel, and when I click them, I can sort of like feel the click on a skeletal level, and it feels like I had these controls like subcutaneously, surgically installed, and I'm actually pushing on a button that's in my head, and I enjoy that a little bit.
And now a little insight into Andy's brain.
And I did do cyborg.
You had mentioned a Sugru hack where you put Sugru on the inside of that bud and then you form it to your. I did that, but I kind of like just the soft bud instead. So I threw out the Sugru. I hope you don't mind.
Micah Sargent was putting a tape on his AirPods this week. He has the black tape to make panda pods, and then he used the colored tape to make 6 colored pods.
Oh, see, that's cheaper than getting that paint job that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Andy, we're going to call you back or something. There's some clicking coming in again through your system. I don't think it's Skype. I think there's an electrical issue going on with your connection. Maybe you can plug it on.
Again, I'm surrounded by a lot of heating, ventilation, and cooling things, so I'm not doubting that.
Yeah. Well, he's in Atlantic City for reasons unknown. No, because he's speaking to the Summer Camp Association.
Did you see that Reddit Twitter joke on the internet yesterday, Leo? I think it was or the day before yesterday, where it said, I was joking about the CIA listening to everything I said, and I laughed, and my wife laughed, and Amazon Echo laughed, so I shot the Echo.
Because you can't shoot anything else, right? I thought you were going to mention Pete Souza's post on Instagram of Obama in a microwave oven, but that's another one.
No.
That
just don't take the door off.
Our show today brought to you by FreshBooks. Actually, maybe it was Colbert who did that. Anyway, he's trying to talk to the president through a microwave. Our show today brought to you by FreshBooks, the ridiculously easy cloud accounting system we love so very much. In fact, I personally have a personal deep love for FreshBooks because they saved my keister. Starting when they first started out in 2004, that's when I was going up to Canada, doing call for help. And I had to, I was invoicing Rogers, the producers, for my time and for my expenses. They paid the hotel and the airfare, but I had to bill them for it. And I hated it. That was the worst thing. You don't get into business. If you're an individual, a freelancer, a small business person, you don't get into business because you like invoicing, because you like accounting, unless your business is accounting. You get in the business to do what you love to do. In my case, I love to do call for help with Amber MacArthur, and that was fun. But I would just every time, and I used to tell Amber, I can't, I got to invoice. I haven't done it in months. Oh, I hate doing this. She told me about FreshBooks. They had just started in Toronto, and they made it so easy for me to send invoices. You get paid faster. Because you're doing your expenses and invoices right through the FreshBooks interface, you really get cloud accounting. In fact, the newest FreshBooks dashboard, I love. I'm so in love with this. I wish I were invoicing people. It provides quick access to spending, outstanding balances. You even know your total profit, which for a lot of people, certainly for me, I didn't know that until the end of the year, till tax time. You get accounting reports that make tax times easier too, like sales tax summaries, profit and loss. And because your clients are getting these invoices and the invoice built in has a pay me button, you get paid faster. an average of 11 days faster. So that is awesome. With FreshBooks Payment, you can enable your clients to pay you online by credit card. There's no setup required for you or them. Your customer just pays right from the invoice. And it turns out clients hate paying bills as much as you hate sending bills. They just want to get it over with. Make it easy for them. See what invoices have been sent, viewed, and paid. You can see what's viewed. Did you hear that? They'll tell you so your client can no longer say, oh, I didn't get your invoice. No, you did. I saw you look at it. You can also set auto payment reminders, automatic late fees. FreshBooks will do time tracking for you. So that means both in the website and in the app, you can bill for time and hours automatically, even by client and specific projects. So you can track your time right down to the minute. Team timesheets even. When it comes to creating an invoice, you'll know what you did, when you did it, and when it was paid or not. FreshBooks is awesome, and it integrates with everything you may already use, like Stripe, Shopify, Gusto, Acuity, scheduling, and on and on and on. Ensure a smooth tax season. And save, here's another stat, 192 hours a year just by using FreshBooks. You also save some agita. I was always worried about, I got to get to bills. Try it free for 30 days right now. Free for 30 days. FreshBooks.com/MacBreak. Just put MacBreak Weekly in the How Did You Hear About Us section. FreshBooks.com/MacBreak. Got to warn you, though, you try it free for 30 days, you may never stop using it. All right, let's see. Did Andy get all fixed up? Oh, he's down. He's down.
Oh, no agita for Leo. No agita.
No agita.
Basta.
Basta. Yeah, I decided I could go either way. I could go with the Yiddish or I could go with the Italian, and I kind of like to alternate. I got a little
macchina.
agita.
Oh, was it Saurus? Were you down to Saurus or agita?
It was Saurus or Spilkus.
Oh, Spilkus and the Galacticus oint.
I got Heidi flies. So here's an interesting story. Are you there, Andy? Let's see if we can. I don't want to do it before I can get Andy back. Now we don't hear Andy.
Sadly, no.
Sadly, that is not my fault, says Karsten. Yes, Andy.
There we go. I'm sorry. I missed lunch, so I had a Nutri-Grain bar from the speakers lounge.
I'm so sorry, Andy. If I could send you a nice hot pizza pie, I'd do so.
That's okay. I'm being nourished by the nutrition, the caloric content of good fellowship.
That's all that matters, isn't it? Like a Tibetan monk.
Andy.
You live on air, and you poop little balls of dust.
Fire.
So I don't know if you have you been watching the show Billions on Showtime. It's really good show about hedge fudge manager. Hedge fudge. Now you got me in the hedge fudge manager.
A Freudian slap.
Yeah, a hedge fund manager and the New York State federal attorney. That's wonderful. It's great. Lots of intrigue. But this hedge fund manager came from good New Jersey stock, and he keeps going back to the pizzeria that he grew up with, and they keep showing these pizza pies, and I'm going, I want.
Canadians only know American geography based on TV shows. So I know New Jersey as House, Jersey Shore, and Sopranos, and that's sort of like the three cities that I understand.
Oh, and if you watched Boardwalk Empire, you'd know where Andy is. So.
Oh, okay. I got to.
Jersey's very popular for TV shows, actually. My son and his gang, all his roommates, are watching Jersey Shore for the first time, so they're all talking like this.
Jim Tan Laundry, Dad.
And they're doing man tan. It's like, come on, guys. They're mocking it. They don't want to be in Jersey Shore.
Better the man tan than the jump off the roof, Leo. Let's just go for small victories.
Whatever happened to Snooki, they're saying. I don't know. So let's get to our security portion. And I'll start with a big hire. This is from Mac Rumors. Jonathan Zdziarski, who we really look to and look up to as a great Mac security expert. Apple has hired him.
Isn't that great?
He's accepted a position with Apple's security engineering and architecture team. You couldn't hire somebody better Jonathan Zdziarski. That is fantastic.
What's so remarkable about this? So that group, it's run by Ivan Kirstik, and he's the one who did, Bitfrost and Gatekeeper and his team, System Integrity Protection and Differential Privacy, all that stuff. Fantastic team as part of Craig Federighi's software engineering organization. I cannot say enough good things about them. They're absolutely fantastic. But when you've been watching Jonathan on Twitter and on his blog lately, like he started off making forensic tools and forensic code that's now widely used, both by law enforcement and by people who are trying to just pull data, like Celebrite, pull data off of iPhones. And he was sort of getting more and more away from forensics and more into privacy. And recently he was blogging about things like defending your data when you're crossing borders, protecting yourself from phishing attacks. And it seemed like he'd sort of come to a crossroads and didn't know what he wanted to do next. And Apple, when you talk to people on the security team at Apple, it's not a small thing. Like they're super passionate. They're like, you will have to drag our bodies out of the server room to get our customer data, the little that we store of it. And that just seems to be such a really good fit for him right now. And like, it's sad that he's not on Twitter anymore, and sad that
his account's deleted. His Twitter account's gone, which is very sad.
But he was doing that before Apple, so some people thought that was an Apple thing. But if you'd watched him on Twitter, a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, he was getting really concerned about things like government intrusion into social media, and he started deleting his tweets like 20 minutes.
So maybe it was more related to that than anything else. If you want to travel out of the country, you probably do want to kind of slow down your tweet. Not your tweet, your tweet. And
he was getting spam that he was really upset about. And so I think that part was a long time coming, and this was just a good time to pull that trigger.
It's interesting, though, because he was a jailbreak guy originally, right?
They all were. Almost all the security guys. It's a very common story.
Yeah. I mean, nobody knows the internal guts of iOS better than jailbreak people, because the way you jailbreak is by finding an exploit.
Will Chronic, he did the Chronic dev team, and they did the Green Poison jailbreak, and now he's doing tools that help you find malicious frameworks in iOS. I mean, there's been a huge transformation there.
When Zdziarski was on the Chronic dev team, he was known as Nerve Gas.
Just like a zero somewhere. Amazing.
So good hire. In a way, a loss to the community at large, because it was always, and this is something Apple should keep in mind. It was great to have a non-Apple guy talking about these issues, especially during the San Bernardino phone issues. You had a guy who was an independent voice who had owed Apple nothing, who was talking, and that was really, really valuable to have. And I hope some others step up.
At Chronic is really good for that now too. The last few weeks, he's been debunking a lot of the hysteria over things like the CIA leaks.
Yes, and I think we should talk about that. That's Vault 7. It broke last week at this time. So we didn't. Not only did we not talk about it on the show last week, quite wisely, I think Steve Gibson deferred. He said, "I haven't had a chance to read through all 8,000 pages, so let's talk about it next week." And I think Steve's been staying up late to do that. But so I imagine, I don't know, but the next in Security Now Next, we'll probably spend some time talking about this. But you look at it at first, it's very reminiscent of the Snowden dump. There's some big differences. Snowden gave it to the press, who slowly leaked it out after vetting it. This is just a WikiLeaks massive dump of stuff.
The headlines were horrible. Like the first day, there was a headline up saying they could penetrate Signal and iMessage,
and that was wrong. That was
wrong.
Through a misreading of the WikiLeaks press release, which kind of implied that Signal.
Well, yeah, they also their tweet actually mentioned compromising Signal, compromising WhatsApp, and you really did have to read the documents to realize that it was compromised if a keylogger was installed on an Android device, but otherwise, no, they have not broken end-to-end encryption.
And we've been at great pains.
I think that's on WikiLeaks. I think.
Yeah, we've been at great pains to correct that. We never said that, but at great pains to correct that, so that people at least who have the sense to get their tech information from technologists know that this didn't no way compromise Signal or WhatsApp. In fact, Open Whisper Systems tweeted, they're the creators of the protocol used in both programs, that in fact if you look at the Vault 7, it validated that strong crypto does work, and in fact has forced the CIA and others to create expensive targeted attacks like commandeering somebody's phone because they can't intercept the communications and understand them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's the success of
Open. Work around them.
It's the success of Open Whisper Systems, really.
And that's sort of what you want. You want them to have to go after a person, not just sit there with a huge sieve at the open end of an internet thing, collecting all the information they can to sift through.
Most of the hacks, as far as I can tell, and again, I'll defer to Steve when he does the show next, but most of the hacks are, in fact, that kind of hack. They're hacks, targeted attacks on specific persons of interest, the kinds of things, frankly, you'd expect government spy agencies to develop. Nothing really surprising. People who own Samsung TVs were perturbed by the Weeping Angel attack, which allowed people to take over Samsung TVs and use them as surreptitious bugging devices. What's not clear from this is if it is a remote attack. In other words, if you could somehow talk to the Samsung TV over the internet and install this, it looked more like you had to actually be in the premises and have physical access. In which case, it's no different than putting a bug in the wall, in the phone, in the light.
Right.
It's just one more place to put a bug.
It's endgame. There's very little you can do if you have physical access.
And most of these are like that. They're targeted attacks where I know we want to find out what Dimitri is up to, and so let's use these hacks. Now, as Apple, since it's an Apple show, Apple says that the hacks that they've seen on the iPhone in this material, most of those have been patched. These were all 3 years old, these attacks, right?
Yeah. This really was a documentation of their entire bag of tricks. And so they're kind of like drive savers in that they have to have a Bernoulli drive, because what if someone comes in with a Bernoulli drive that needs to be data rescued? So they really, if they have a technique that will work for something, then they've got that documented. They've got that tool ready. So it doesn't mean that what are the chances that someone's going to have a BlackBerry 3 that has some data on it? Said no, here's how you get into a BlackBerry 3. It's ready. It's on the shelf in case we need it. And it's also the fact that so many of this stuff was really well known, well documented. So many of these hacks were just or even commercial products that they had bought from security firms. It really is, again, let's make sure we have every single trick we can get. And you're right, it really is significant that none of these include something that was hitherto considered to be impossible, such as breaking end-to-end encryption.
Right.
Kelly?
Well, I think one of the things that I think is sort of lost in this is that when you talk to when regular folks talk to their family tech support person, or the neighbor's nephew that comes over and reboots the router or whatever it is, like when they talk to that person is always lecturing them about making sure that they're up to date with the latest version of Mac OS or iOS or Android OS or whatever it is. And the reason for that is because of exactly this kind of thing. If you are still using a phone that runs iOS 8, it's going to be a lot easier for somebody to get into it if they decide that they want to and have some way to do so. And if you're running iOS 10, all of the ways that people could get into iOS 8 are eliminated. So you have to do something different if you're using iOS 9 or iOS 10. And I think that's one of the things that people aren't necessarily getting the message out about to regular folks, which is when we try to beat it into you, this is why you need to update. This is why you need to update. This is why, because all of the stuff that they were able to do to those older versions of operating systems, they can't do in the newer ones. And that's why we continue to tell you to upgrade. And maybe the new thing looks a little different or isn't quite as nice as what you want. But I also am really glad that Apple's being upfront and come out about this and said, yeah, all that stuff, it's all been fixed, and is talking very openly about it, because one of the things that makes security work is sort of taking all comers, letting anybody who wants to try to pick that lock, and anybody who does, and anybody who finds an exploit and turns that in, makes it so that lock is now better for everybody. And I feel like that's something that is where a lot of security conversations come from, and we really need to continue doing that.
They had code names for the various operating systems. Windows was called Bartender. The Mac OS was called Jukebox. and Linux is called dance floor. So we know the CIA likes to party.
They're way worse at code names than NSA.
Oh, the code names were. I thought they were better in some ways. I mean, Weeping Angel, Ricky Bobby. There were some fun.
Some of them are a little on the chin. It's like Shoulder Surfer. I wonder how that works.
Yeah. Mostly, though, and tell me if I'm wrong. Mostly, my takeaway from this is it's more embarrassing for the CIA that this leaked out than surprising that these things exist. And it's no reason to set your hair on fire because many of these are exploits that, as you say, were in the wild, were purchased from companies that specialize in this. We know there are plenty of third parties like Celebrite that spend lots of time doing this. Yeah, everybody's doing it.
On top of that, these were secret, but they weren't really secret because they're the real secret. There are all kinds of degrees of secrecy. These were of a level where they could let contractors have them, and right now the common wisdom is that it wasn't stolen from the CIA. It was a lazy contractor, or maybe even someone within that contractor said, "Hey, this looks like a cool thing to hand over to my friend Julian, who needs something to read because he's cooped up in that building."
And only has what's her name to visit him. Yeah, it must be tough.
The part where it's really hard is I was working on an article about how to encrypt backups. So I talked to a bunch of InfoSec people. I talked to a bunch of backup companies.
Sorry, I couldn't remember.
And the hard thing is that they gave me different answers. Like, for example, the InfoSec people say encrypt everything. If you have a backup, encrypt that. The backup people say don't encrypt your backups because for most people, data theft is not an issue, but data recovery is. And once you encrypt, you can no longer pay a data recovery company if you want to restore your family photos, for example. And then this creates this dynamic for people because they understand they need encryption, but if anything ever happens to this drive, I'm literally getting a divorce. So how to me, it's getting incredibly confusing and difficult for people to sort of figure out. Because we have such an invasion of privacy now, it's getting difficult to do even basic tasks like data backup.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I really am thinking about the next time that I have to cross a border, and pretty sure that if I need to do real work while I'm on the road, I will probably buy one of those cool retro new Nokia phones for $50 or $60. I will probably take a Chromebook with me, maybe even buy a brand new one, simply on the basis that if they ask for my phone, if they ask for my laptop, I can simply hand both of them over because neither of them is going to have anything personal on it. And there's nothing that they can really grab from it. And that really does feel like that's the only way that you can not be put on some sort of a watch list, but not feel like you're being racked up for and forced to give up your rights that you're not supposed to be able to give up.
Let me ask this. Actually, this is a very germane question. If you're traveling overseas and you're using an iPhone, and of course we know Customs and Border Patrol is legally allowed to look at your stuff. They can do all sorts of stuff as you cross the border. But let's say they get your iPhone, they persuade you to unlock it, and they disappear with it for half an hour. Mm-hmm. Do we know, can they take everything off that iPhone, read everything once you've unlocked it? Is it all unencrypted? Is it now available to them?
Speaking of Zdziarski, he had a great post on this and things you could do. For example, you could use the enterprise management tools to remove the key pairing so that you can't just plug it into iTunes and start pulling things off. I don't know how well that affects like their Celebrite machines or anything, but there are things you could do. But again, like this is to me like the backup thing is it's a moral thing. The EFF just updated their border crossing document last weekend, and I read through it, and you can see that like the helplessness. You can read the helplessness in their words because you can do things like getting a second phone, but you cannot lie to customs, and they have incredible powers at a border, powers far beyond any policing agency. And anything you do, like you can refuse to give them information, but then they can detain you, especially if you're a foreign national, they can just detain you.
Well, for you, for instance, if you're coming into the United States, and we've seen it happen many times to a number of Canadians, you could be just turned back.
Muhammad Ali's son was detained, and he's a U.S. citizen. Yeah. I mean, twice. Yeah. He was detained while going to testify about being detained.
They can't prevent you from entering, and they can't force you to unlock your phone, but they can keep you cool in your heels there for hours. And that's enough of a penalty that for many people, including myself, I'd probably just say, well, unlock the damn thing. So the question is, so I get there. I'm coming back from Cuba in next December. I guess I shouldn't bring my iPhone because they can say, well, please unlock this, and I can unlock it.
That's such a loss of convenience.
And then they can
do all
suck
my work
it dry. They could get, but it's more than that. I've got passwords on here. I've got all sorts of stuff on here.
You can get into your online accounts, your social media accounts.
Basically, would it give them access to everything?
Yep. And and it's persistent access too. And some people say like immediately afterwards, change your passwords, revoke your tokens. go through and eliminate. And like Alex Lindsay, if he were here, he would say that if someone takes your device, you just never take that device back. You just leave it and walk on.
Yeah. You can't assume that there isn't some sort of a piece of malware or spyware on there. I mean, but my difficulty is that in any given moment, I might have signed documents promising that I'm going to keep certain very valuable secrets, and if that secret gets out, there are legal consequences that I have to suffer. And so on that basis alone, even beyond principle, it's like I cannot let this phone number out of my control. I can't let this PDF file out of my control. So yes, Mr. or Ms. Inspector, that's why I did factory reset my Android device or my iPhone while I was getting off the plane, because I am not legally entitled to let anybody else see this. So
especially if you guys are reporters, there's even more to that, because you may have sources in there, and you have an obligation to protect sources, for instance.
The EFF covered that too. And they said, like, you could be working for a company that you have, like, you might have the next version of iOS or the next Hollywood movie.
Right.
You might have a final cut of the next Avengers movie on your phone, and you're going through, and you cannot give it to them. And they said, tell them. And some of them might say, we understand, keep going. Others might say, you're now under detention, and please go into this room. And it varies depending on the custom agent you get, which is, I think, where the helplessness comes from.
And I should point out, this can also happen to you going into other countries. It could happen to you going into Canada, for instance.
Yeah, right. I mean, liberal and conservative, this is not an ideological or political thing. This is rampant government invasions into privacy in almost every
governments
region.
feel at this point, it's sad because it tells me the terrorists have won, but most governments feel at this point that they really have to protect their borders against incoming terrorists. And so that's what this is all about.
Except that the NBC News investigation, because I saw a piece about this on the news last night on TV, and one of the things that they said was that the reason they were doing this for people coming into the United States was because they had been sort of called on the carpet about domestic terrorism. So this isn't even about Rene coming here from Canada. This is about me coming back from someplace else, which is a very different situation, because I'm
that's
from
why
here.
I'm worried.
I'm
that's
from
why
the
I'm.
US.
That's why I'm worried. I'm going back into the U.S. from Cuba, which I will be doing in December. That is like a red flag, right? And if they look at the stamps on my passport, I've been to Egypt, I've been to China, I've been to Russia. I mean, I'm in deep doo-doo. So
you need to leave your phone at home, Leo.
I can't leave my passport at home, but I can't
elementary
leave my phone
schools that go to Washington, D.C. every year, and this year they're not doing that. They're going to Toronto instead, because they don't want to have the students have to cross the border, which I think is incredibly sad.
What's so important is that kids get to see other countries so that some of this fear goes down, because they have an exposure to the other instead of being the unknown, scary people in turbans. And
xenophobia.
Yeah, the xenophobia is just enhanced by this because people are afraid to travel.
Well, that's part of what makes this so dark. They're not. There are actually this new policy was set up in 2000. During the waning days of the Bush administration, and was continued through both terms of Obama, there are rules, there are guidelines. It says that you cannot randomly select somebody. You cannot just basically say we're going to take all the brown people out of line and subject them to a deeper investigation. You have to have a reason why a certain individual called for let's examine the contents of their phones. And unfortunately, now we're seeing a tide turning where it's being done. What was the statistic I read? That there were 5,000 people pulled aside for this kind of screening in 2015, and 5,000 were pulled aside in February of this year. And most of them are brown people or people with what might be concerned weird last names. Not Anatko, not Richie.
I don't know. Anatko sounds a little Russian.
Well, no. Again, we're cool. We're good. That's.
The Russians are good again. I'm sorry.
I could bring 10 pounds of coke through the border if I name
Hey, I'm with Russia. I'm with Russia. I'm with Putin. Let me in.
All I'm saying is that I have a really, really good friend whose last name is, I won't say it because of their privacy, but it's an Italian last name. But it's spelled like a Middle Eastern name. And this person has to travel internationally a lot because of their job. And I'm really concerned about what will happen to them the next time they travel.
Yeah, that's very.
So,
Renee,
I would be upset. I would be upset enough if it were they're just basically saying that anybody who looks a little bit shabby or anybody who looks one way or another, they're pulling aside. It's even worse, the idea that no, we are just basically saying anybody who looks brown.
It's what Melissa McCarthy said. You're blonde, you're okay. You're not blonde. Wait, stop, cool your heel.
Yeah.
We'll find a reason in your Facebook post and I'll let you in.
So Andy, you think your advice would be maybe take the iPhone, cross the border out of the country, then on the plane coming home, wipe it.
I would. I'm
worried that's a red flag, but I guess.
Well, there's nothing they can do about it. Right. And again, as a citizen, they can detain me for about 3 hours, I think. I know that they can take my computer, they can take my phone, but they have to return it within 5 days. It's essentially being polite, saying sir and madam, complying, and simply saying it's one thing to say, well, I refuse to give you the passcode. That leads to a lot of trouble. You certainly have your right to say, I'm not going to give you my passcode, and see how well that works out. But you can say, yes, the answer to the question, why did you erase your phone, sir, is because I chose to do so. And you don't have to really go any further than that. They will take it behind. You'll hand it over happily. They can look at they can look into welcome to iPhone screen. They can connect it to their slurpers all they want. They will see there's nothing on it. At some point, maybe they'll flag you for, let's make sure we take another look at this person again next time. But there's really nothing they can do at that point. My concern is that I've heard a lot of stories of really disappointing unprofessionalism of not simply saying, again, call the person sir and madam, and saying, well, we just require your phone, and you have the right to not do that. But of course, we can detain the phone for a certain number of time. We will return it to you at our expense. But there are people who are saying, are you looking to be funny? Like, why are you carrying all this stuff? A children's book author saying, well, I write books. And thinking that person snapping back at them, you think I have time to read books? Like, oh, that is.
Somebody in the chat room, Jay says, always pretend to respect the bureaucrat. They have the power to make your life hell. And you should absolutely not lie to law enforcement ever. That's committing a crime at that point.
Even especially at a border, if you lie to a border agent, now they have a reason to hold on to you for much longer than that.
Right.
But like I said,
the EFF has an excellent guide, Digital Privacy at the U.S. Border, Protecting the Data on Your Devices and in the Cloud, Adam Schwartz. Thank you, Rene, for that link. If people want to read that before they travel, it's probably a good idea. I'm still
no easy answer.
I'm not going out of the country until June, but I am conflicted. I mean, I really depend on my smartphone and my computer and my tablet as I travel, and I'm very conflicted.
How much could you get away with if you were to like a caveman, if you were to plug your phone into your laptop, make the encrypted backup, and then nuke your phone? And then you can
that's
use
what
your
I would
phone
do. That's what Andy's proposing.
while you're gone or whatever, and come back and have like your regular phone when you get back. That way there's no Twitter
nuke it
apps,
on the way
no
back,
Facebook, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you can just on your way to the airport, you stop by Federal Express, package up your laptop and your phone, and just ship
that's an
it.
interesting idea.
Yeah, they inspect customs packages though too. I mean, also when you ship it internationally, it's manufactured in China, which means that they will start charging you duty, which is way more expensive than just shipping when you do cross the U.S. No, we've looked into all this stuff because we ship a lot of Mobile Nations has offices in both Canada and the U.S. and every time we ship, they're like, "Ooh, manufactured in China. That's full duty on this, please, sir."
Yeah. It's well, and I wonder how much you would have to do on a basic level. Like your iPhone is tied to your iCloud account, your Apple ID, and your Android phone is tied to your Gmail address. So if you just signed out of those things and restarted your phone, is that enough to do the job? Or like if you sign out and then you reset all your settings, is that enough to do the job? Like maybe you delete a few apps, how much is obstruction and how much is security? Because I'll just go on record and say it. I'm not a security risk. I don't know a bunch of secret stuff, and I'm certainly not ferrying it to other countries. So like my mom is on a trip right now, and it's international. They're going to a bunch of countries, and then they're going to come back. And when they come back, are they going to go rifle through her phone to see, like, what do they think that they're going to find? And this is really my question for all of this is what is it that they think they're going to find if they go through my phone or Andy's Chromebook or whatever it is that they're rifling through? Like, I want to know what it is that they think they're getting out of this, because some of the other stuff, it's very obvious. I know why you make me take my shoes off at the airport. It's dumb, but I know why. And I want to know what it is that's happening with phones or with Chromebooks or laptops or whatever that they think they're getting something out of this. Like, I want to know what the reward is, what it is that they think they're going to get by doing so.
I think the purpose of all this isn't so much to sift through your laptop and look for documents or look for like incriminating text messages on your phone. It is something as simple as, I want your address book. I want to know who you know. Because the connections between one person or another, it's a trivially simple piece of information, but once you put down, here are 10,000 people and their connections to one another, you start to get a really clear map of where relationships are flowing, what the velocity of the stuff is. So if you're trying to understand how a certain community is operating and where they are and who they're communicating with, that's a lot of data you can grind. So even if all they're doing is just getting your contacts, even if all they're doing is finding out who you follow on Twitter and who follows you, that's pretty good stuff. It's not great stuff when you just take a look at my phone, but if you take a look at my phone and 10,000 other people, it's the reason. I mean, it's the reason why they operate stingrays at protests and at other public places. It's the fact that they have now they have a piece of information that, okay, Andy was at the same place. This demonstration that had 200 people. Andy, subject B, and subject C were all in the same place. And then 2 months later, at a shopping mall, Andy and subject C were in the same place together. And now if subject C happens to go out to dinner with subject E, now E gets tied to me somehow if they're trying to figure out, is this a group of people that are doing bad things? So that's it's the idea of them doing this as a matter of course and not because somebody was trailing a wad of toilet paper from their shoe when they came out of the bathroom that smelled of kerosene, that perhaps we should take a closer look at this person and maybe find out who he was desperately trying to sell a watch to just before he was trying to board an airplane. It's like, no, if you're coming through our border, we have the right to have this information because we think that at some point in the future that will give us some information by correlation that we will find valuable. That's just not appropriate.
And, of course, it's not only the federal government and the CIA we have to worry about. Bad guys, too, have tools. This is a new Mac Trojan with code-signed signatures, just to make you feel better, called Proton. $50,000, that's all it takes. The only complete Mac OS solution for remote control and surveillance. It's a remote access Trojan, a rat aimed at Mac OS. This is from a security firm called Sixgill. It's written in Objective-C, doesn't need any libraries. It's marketed by the creator as a, quote, professional FUD, surveillance and control solution with which you can do almost everything with a target's Mac. Has root access, key logging, uploading and downloading of files, screenshots, webcam access, SSH and VNC connectivity. Wow, this sounds like it might have been written by a government. It's really good. It also claimed the malware could present victims with a custom window, which could be used to request extra information like credit card numbers. It's the newest and the onlyest Mac rat in the market, and it's a mere $50,000. Get yours today. What's scary is that it has Apple's, it's signed. So,
yeah, I mean, they can get a developer ID for something else and then use it to sign.
Right. That's what the Turkish Turkish ID was used to, right? The price is cut. It used to be 100 Bitcoins for unlimited installations, but now they've reduced it to 40 Bitcoins. 2 Bitcoins for just one
person. Not related to this, but Apple started cracking down on apps that load code after they've gone through the review process.
Yeah, and I saw Michael Tsai complaining about that, right? But I think that's a good thing.
I mean, they had that problem early on where there was apps that would go through review and then suddenly turn into porn apps because they changed the source of their RSS feed, and Apple started blocking those. But now it's far more. It's more closer examination, I think.
Hot code push SDKs will be blocked, and it's not. The porn app's one thing. The other thing is, of course, it turns a benign app into a hacking tool. That's another. Yep. So I think that's reasonable. I guess. However,
if you're a game company, Lua is probably still safe for you to use scripting engines. But if you're not a big gaming company, you have to be
Michael
careful.
Tsai, the creator of Spam Assassin, has a long blog post about and quotes from a variety of developers on what this means and how you can be compliant. And so you can push executable code to your app if the code is run by Apple's built-in WebKit framework or JavaScript core and it does not provide, unlock, or enable additional features or functionality. So maybe for patches, you still have that capability. Anyway, yeah. But I think that's reasonable. I don't think that's unreasonable. But are developers upset because it limits what they can do to fix their code?
Sometimes, I mean, like there's always a legitimate use for everything and an illegitimate use for it. And sometimes legitimate uses get hurt by covering down on the legitimate use.
Yeah. Pandora's getting in the music business. Watch out, Apple Music. Here comes Pandora Music. $10. It'll be a streaming solution, much like Apple Music or Spotify. You remember that Pandora bought the really nice, I thought, Rdio, which had a really great Mac client. How does Pandora plan to differentiate from Apple Music or Spotify or Google Music or Amazon Music? It's going to be easy to use. And if you're a Pandora Premium customer, you're going to get 6 months free out of the box. The idea that Pandora has kind of decided to focus on, Tim Westergren says, today, music streaming apps are 30 million songs in a search box. He says, I think that can be appealing to a small segment of the population. For most people, that's just overwhelming. It's hard work. So he wanted to make an app that would be easier just to get some music and play it. So we'll see. The Verge did have, it looks like a beta copy. It's not available yet, but they made simplicity very much the key focus. It looks a lot like Rdio. You got your daily mix, your playlists, your stations, your songs. Oh, wait a minute. Is this Spotify I'm looking at?
I think that's Apple Music, isn't it?
Or is this... No, this is Apple Music on the right, Spotify on the left. Oh, I guess the middle... I'm sorry. The middle is the Pandora. So it is kind of a nice... looks kind of nice and clean. Same song catalog as Apple Music and Spotify. Pandora says we're going to curate a little bit, though, to get rid of karaoke. And this is one that bugs me. Tribute bands and duplicate tracks. I always get like a Beatles tribute band. I never get the Beatles.
I have friends who buy stuff on iTunes and get a cover version of the song, and they don't know it. They're like happily boogieing down, and like, that's not the original artist.
That really is embarrassing. Yeah.
That's not how it goes. Yeah.
I just wish they were more international. I mean, I've been going to Pandora's website every month for 3-4 years, and it still says, hey, sorry, not for you. Move to America. Thanks.
And then the algorithm will work kind of like Pandora does with it, because it's based on the Music Genome Project. If you listen to or thumbs up a couple of songs, it'll be smart about picking new songs for you. Pandora does a decent job of that, although every time I listen to a Pandora station for any length of time, it starts to drift. Maybe that's my fault. I don't know. This is the interface. Yeah, I like it. It's clean. Simple. Anyway, I don't know if anybody is even in the market for... By now, hasn't everybody chosen their music system? Aren't they all locked in with the playlists and everything? Maybe not.
I'm not doing anything different either to make it seem attractive.
Yeah.
Is there anything about like importing data from someplace else? Because I know that was one thing when Beats sort of turned into Apple Music. That was one thing that they did, was made it so that you could convert all that stuff to Apple Music.
Let's see. That's a good question. I don't see anything about that. I do see that they're going to not focus on exclusives. That's been the thing that's driving Apple and some of the Apple competitors like Tidal. They're not going to play that game. So they're really focusing on, hey, you launch it and you get music, and that makes sense because that's really what the Pandora install base wants. I mean, I look at how people use Pandora. They launch a station and that's it. They don't mess around with it. Existing users of Pandora's free service will be able to test out Pandora Premium free for 2 months. Invites begin to roll out March 15th. That's tomorrow. Pandora Plus users will get 6 months for free. And if you're not a Pandora user now, you can access the 2-month free trial. So, I welcome competition. I think this is a crowded field now, and I worry that these companies are really struggling. There's so much in the... I look at SoundCloud. The latest from SoundCloud is that they may not survive the year. They're really struggling.
It's like value added from Apple, Google, and Amazon who can afford to do it, but It's part of some individual business.
Exactly.
Right.
FBI says we're not going to release the iPhone hacking tool. We might still we might want to use it.
13-year-old works out of his garage. He's Aces, but we don't want to give you the name.
You might want. Yeah, right.
She's busy. Leave her alone.
Joey's busy. Sorry, we're not going to tell you where or who.
Dad, I'll jailbreak that for you.
It wasn't a 5. It was a 5C, so it may still not, be very dangerous.
Geohot's got a lot on his plate.
Geohot. Carpool Karaoke is going to launch with Sophie Turner. Don't know who that is. Huh? That's Sansa Stark?
That's Sansa Stark.
Oh, and Maisie Williams, who I know who Maisie is. That's Arya, right?
Yeah. Arya Stark.
So it's the sisters.
Isn't she Dark Phoenix as well?
She's who?
From the X-Men movie?
Maybe.
Phoenix?
Maybe.
Yeah.
They're calling it Stark Pool.
Sophie, Maisie.
Oh, Maisie and Sophie.
And we're at South by
Karaoke.
Southwest.
And we're about to do carpool karaoke for Apple Music.
Hey, it's Sophie and Maisie.
Oh, Maisie and
Sophie and Maisie.
Yeah, she was Phoenix from the X-Men, Leo.
I wouldn't know that.
Jean Grey.
Okay.
She's also on Doctor Who.
There will be 16 half-hour episodes. So these are the latest. They will also include James Corden, who created Carpool Karaoke, Will Smith, Billy Eichner, Metallica. Oh, I want to get in a van with Metallica and sing a cappella. Alicia Keys, John Legend, Ariana Grande, Seth MacFarlane. That'll be fun. Chelsea Handler.
I can't even imagine Seth MacFarlane.
Oh, that'll be awesome. He likes the big band tunes, though. I'm worried about that.
He likes all kinds of stuff, though. That's why, you don't know where that's going to end up.
He's the creator of Family Guy, of course, and does many of the voices, and is actually quite a talented singer and performer, I think.
And is a very talented singer. Yeah.
Blake Shelton,
karaoke.
Michael Strahan, John Cena, and Shaquille O'Neal. I think they'll have to get a specially made van for that one.
Wretched coronary abortion.
I like Kelly's giggle. You guys are getting her. That's great. I think that's... this is funny. Apparently, we were talking about the Nintendo Switch. Somehow, it's hackable using Apple's WebKit browser engine. Not even the most modern one, an old version. Is it using WebKit?
I mean, thank God we can't get our user data off, but people can get in using an old version of WebKit. DRM, once again, best friend of the casual user.
Nothing to worry about. Somebody'd have to have physical access to your Nintendo Switch.
I mean, you might need it because you can't recover your data.
Right. I accidentally erased Anthony Nielsen's wife's Zelda save. I hope she's not mad at me for that.
Coming at you with a Hyrule sword.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I haven't gotten very far. I'm just kind of wandering. I got to that old church. I got a few shards, some old screws. I'm sure something exciting is going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break. And when we come back, you, my friends, you can do your picks of the week. How about that? Yay! Joining us from Mac Observer, Kelly Guimont. She's also at Smile Software, where she's in charge of social media. Do you tweet for Smile?
I do.
That's a great... That should just be on your card. Tweets for Smiles. Also, Andy Anatko. He's joining us from Atlantic City, where he's speaking to the Summer Camp Association. Blogs at anatko.com, tweets at Anatko, flickers at Andy I, and writes for this thing called the Chicago Sun-Times. And Rene Ritchie.
Maybe barely read.
Rene Ritchie's also here from imore.com. Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. If you're in business and you're responsible for hiring, the worst. That's kind of the worst. Can you fill this position? Oh, especially if you're a sole proprietor, because it's while you're down a person, now you got to go find somebody to replace them. But I want to encourage you to do the right thing, because that person you're hiring can transform your company. It can bring it down, but it can also lift it to the moon. A company is made of people. It's just like Soylent Green. And the right people make all the difference. Here's a tool that'll make it so much easier, so much faster, and I think this is the most important thing, will help you find the best candidate possible. Because you don't know where that perfect person is, or what job boards they're lurking on, or what social media they read. So wouldn't it be cool if you could post once, and you can, to ZipRecruiter.com, and then that post goes to over 200 job boards automatically, plus Twitter and Facebook and everywhere, automatically with one click of the mouse? And then, so you're reaching the most people, right? And then all of those applicants pour not into your phone and your inbox, but to the ZipRecruiter interface. They beautifully format the resumes so they're consistent and easy for you to read. You can actually have screening questions, multiple choice, essay, yes, no questions. You can rank, screen out the ones that are just, nope. Rank the rest and hire the right person almost instantly. All in ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. That's why ZipRecruiter is being used more and more by every Fortune 100, by thousands of small and medium-sized businesses. Over 1 million companies, including Twit, use ZipRecruiter. You can try it free right now. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. The fastest way to hire the perfect person. Kelly Guimont, a pick of the week for you.
Yeah. All right. So this is my pick.
This is my pick.
I know it's not very exciting, but it's very cool. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
This is mine. Yep. What is that? It's an Aukey.
It's an Aukey. It's a wall charger. So it folds up.
Oh.
So if you and it's the size of a regular iPhone, little tiny white brick. But the prongs fold down. Number one awesome thing. And number two awesome thing is that it's got 2 USB ports and they're high power. So you get 2.4 amps per port. So instead of having to carry around the giant iPad charger, you can carry this one instead. And it's super lightweight. It fits in like all my regular travel gear stuff. It's really awesome. It comes in black or white, depending what you want. If you watch, they will occasionally drop in price. It's usually about $10, and sometimes you can get them for about $7 or maybe $8. They're commonly available. It's super durable. Ask me how I know. I've dropped it a bunch of times, and it has held up like a champ. And it's not one of those where it matters where you plug it in. So, it doesn't have like the one iPad port and the one iPhone port.
Right.
So if you ever need to just sort of, replicate ports, like you can just put 2 USB cables straight in here and have this one unit, and it'll charge your iPad, whichever one you have. It'll charge your phone, whichever one you have, and or your battery pack if you're a person who charges a phone and a battery every night when you're on a trip, like I do. So I really like this one for that reason. It's super durable and inexpensive, and makes it a lot easier to keep all your stuff powered up as necessary.
I like it. It's small enough that you could put 2 in a standard plug socket. So you could actually have 4 USB ports from one wall socket.
Yeah,
I like that.
The other bonus to it is that it doesn't block the other port when you plug it in.
Right.
And sometimes if you take like your iPad charger with you, it can get fiddly in that way. And this one doesn't do that.
That's nice. That's good. I'm going to order 2. Good. These picks are always expensive.
That's funny.
they're only $10 on Amazon. That's not bad, right? If I have,
and you got to buy the devices
super reliable.
to plug
Like I said, like I've never had a problem with it. I really like it, and
I've used Aukey stuff for years. They're good.
Yeah.
The battery packs are great too.
Yeah, that they have like a 20,000 milliamp hour battery pack or something. It's just like massive.
It's backpackable.
Yeah. Andy, your pick of the week.
My pick of the week is kind of a gift I bought for myself. I tested so many really super great phone cameras last year, including the iPhone 7 Plus, that it kind of reminded me, it kind of made me understand that I really wanted to have a really good camera, like a pocket camera that I could always have on me and always take really great pictures. So I was taking great pictures with pretty much every good camera that came out last year, but there's still limitations to having a phone camera. So I bought, after a lot of investigation, the Panasonic LX10, which is about the size of a deck of cards. It doesn't have, the footprint is much smaller than even like a compact phone here. So that's pretty good. Of course, it's a lot thicker, but it has a really big, like for a compact camera, Sony 1-inch sensor that you find in all kinds of really good pocket cameras. And it has such a great combination of features, built really great. It's all made out of metal. It has a flip, doesn't have a fully articulating screen, but it flips up so that you can change your angle when you're shooting, and you can also do the selfie thing if you want. It shoots 4K video, but this is the thing that really got me. They're doing, not only does it shoot really good 4K video, but it has this really cool photo modes that take advantage of the 4K. So, for instance, you can use it as in 4K photo modes. You can have it do things like, I will just treat this like it's shooting 30 frames per second at 8 megapixels forever. So essentially, you'll get the same sort of features you get the high-speed shutter of the iPhone. Or you can say, I want you to always be recording save the last 2 seconds of 4K video because I'm waiting for my kid to do her gymnastics routine. And so when I see her actually like leap off the board, that's when I'll press the shutter button. Then it'll actually save the previous 2 seconds of 4K 8 megapixel still pictures, and then keep taking more. So you'll never miss the moment. The really cool thing is, remember that that Lytra camera, the light field camera, where you can just take the picture and then keep changing the focus whenever you want, because it has this magical new type of sensor. Well, they again with the 4K feature, they did something super clever. It's a synthetic depth of field where if you press the button, and it will simply shoot 4K video that racks the focus from nearest to farthest, and then after you take the picture, it asks you, well, what do you want to have in focus, or do you want to have everything in focus? And then when you say, yeah, please put everything in focus, it will do focus stacking of all of those frames and basically create a synthetic image where everything is in lockdown focus. Or you can say, I want just the person in the foreground all the way back to the fence, but not beyond the fence to be in focus, and we'll just keep that range in focus. And then just as a camera, it's a fantastic camera. It really is everything that I wanted it to be. Again, something I can just keep up with me at all times. It has a built-in lens cover, so I don't have to worry about having a lens cap that I'm going to lose on it. Another thing, the last thing I'm not going to talk for 80 minutes about this, so I'll just mention one last thing. And the other thing I really loved about it is that it has a standard micro USB connector on the back there.
Hallelujah.
For data and power, so you can just charge it just with your regular like a USB, micro USB phone charger. You can just so I don't have to take extra battery charge, or I don't have to take an extra AC cord. And the other thing is that if I've been carrying this around for like 3 weeks and the batteries are dead, and oh my God, there's something really great happening, I can just take out my phone. I can just take out my phone battery charger, plug this in for a good like 20 or 30 minutes, and I'll have enough that I can actually take pictures with it. So it's not super cheap. It's cheaper than Sony's equivalent of this. Sony has their version of this sort of camera for $1,000. This costs $670 something. But if you're looking for something that is almost as easy to carry around as a phone, as easy to use as a phone. I mean, there are all kinds of manual features on it, but if I want to, I can just keep it on full automatic mode. It even has like touch to focus, touch to exposure. There's a full touch screen. It'll be just as easy to use, but it will take pictures that are so much better than what your phone can take, because it has a real pop-up flash. It has a real actual zoom lens, and that lens is like super bright. So again, I could not be happier with this. It really is doing everything I wanted to do. The most important
feature, it has a pop-up selfie LCD. So you can a tilting selfie display, so you never again miss that great selfie. Look at that. This is a really nice travel camera, Andy. Good find.
Yep.
Good find. I mean, I presume you're still shooting with your OMD when you want the super stuff.
I have there's something really special I want to shoot tomorrow while I'm here. A statue that, of course, is only one of this in the whole world. So I did take the full camera with me, but that was another thing that really got me reminded me that I really wanted to get a camera like this. The number of times I'm just in New York for one day or overnight, I'm not going to have 6 hours or 7 hours to walk around taking pictures. But you never know, and B, even if I take one picture that's really nice, I want it to be better than something taken with a phone sensor. So again, I couldn't be happier with this.
Yeah. This looks really great. The Panasonic's, the LXs are fantastic. I think they're as good as the more expensive Sonys, frankly.
I think the pictures this takes are just as good.
Yeah.
I don't really see much of where if you're spending $300 extra for The Sony has like an electronic viewfinder. This has a viewfinder where you'll have to actually just use this. You can't look through any kind of a viewfinder. That's not a big deal to me. The construction is just as good. The Sony doesn't have a touchscreen, and that would have been a huge bummer for me. The Sony also doesn't have the really cool 4K photo features. As I said, I did spend a lot of time looking at all the cameras in this category, including all the ones that are supposed to be coming out shortly, and it just was no contest. At least for me, I think this is exactly in the sweet spot of I just want a travel camera that takes great pictures. I can be as fussy with it as with my big Olympus, or I can just keep it on automatic and it'll be as easy to use as my phone.
Yeah, and it does shoot RAW if you're curious. Yeah, very impressive. All right, and this is going to be a very expensive show for me. Let's see what Rene Ritchie. Let's see what I have to buy you that Rene mentions.
I'm going to save you some money, LaFont. I'm going to tell you about Pie Day, because Pie Day is not just for delicious cherry pie and apple pie and things that you can get at your favorite diner, but it's also pie like as in math. And in honor of Pi Day, there's a bunch of science and math apps that are on sale, up to 50% off right now. Ooh. It's called Pi Fest, which is, in my mind, a hell of a promotional name. And there's great apps there. There's Findings, there's Devon Agent Pro, there's Text Expander. You can get 30% off a 1-year subscription. There's Wizard Manuscripts. There's PCalc. And it turns out that PCalc is not just a handy note-taking app for a single string of numbers. It can actually do like math, which blew my mind, but it's really good at it. And this, you can get a bunch of apps together. The discounts range from, like 25% off to 50% off. But if you want to, celebrate Pi Day, get some great apps, save yourself a few dollars that you can put towards your Aukey charger or your camera, your Lumia camera, you can pick these up. It's I think it's a 10-day sale. It lasts from March 14th to March 24th, and these are all great indie apps that most of us should be buying anyway. So again, take a look at Pi Fest, and then have yourself a nice slice a la mode.
Yeah, and look, Text Expander's in there too.
Yep,
nice, very nice.
And App Camp for Girls. Please go support App Camp for Girls. That's my always.
Kelly, you forgot to plug it.
I'm doing it for her. App Camp.
When does signups begin for App Camp for Girls?
Signups are open now, and we are in Chicago this year for the first time.
Yay! So Portland, Chicago, where else?
Phoenix, and Seattle.
Very, very nice. All over the place. And this is aimed at girls what ages?
Right now, they would be in 7th grade or 8th grade.
Okay.
And we'll be going into grades 8 and 9 this coming fall, this September.
And when girls go to this, they learn how to write an app? What do they learn?
Yeah, they learn iOS development from end to end. We give them a framework for an app that they build. You can purchase last year's apps in the iOS App Store. And they get to build a quiz, and then they have to draw all the artwork. They have to come up with an icon. They have to figure out what all the questions are going to be, what all the responses to each of the questions are going to be, giving you which results. And then at the end of the week, they have to pitch their app to a panel of investors and answer some questions about their app and the development process. And so by the end of the summer, they end up with an app in the App Store.
And thanks, of course, to our old friend Gene McDonald for getting this kicked into gear. And now there's a bunch of people doing it. It's a wonderful thing, and it really is a great step towards empowerment to get more women into tech. So I love
Laura
that.
Savina, Eileen Sims, also aces.
Yeah, great people.
It's super fun. And for me, one of the best things about it is the people that I get to work with on this stuff, like Aline and Laura Savino and Gene McDonald. Nice. I see a lot more of Gene now that we do App Camp stuff together. Good. Like all of that stuff, like there's so much great about it. I'm one of the people who volunteers for Portland Camp. This is our 5th year in Portland. And I'm super excited how the program has grown and changed. And if you're a person who's headed to Dub this year, there will still be an App Camp for Girls party near WWDC this year. So keep that in mind when you're looking to make plans. And I'm, like I said, it's one of the best things that I actually get to spend my time on. And it's super fun. And the moment when a girl looks at Xcode for the first time and really likes it, or finds the bug in the app and finds out that breaking stuff is like a whole job, and they really like that.
Nice.
Or finding out that artwork is really important, and how you interact with an app, the shapes that you use and what the user experience is like is really important. And finding out that you get to sort of be the cheerleader for your app and develop a slideshow presentation that you're going to present in front of a bunch of people is always really exciting for somebody. And so I love getting to help all of those opportunities happen.
Well, I'm really glad, Rene, you kept us from forgetting to mention that. I think that's great. And everybody should go to appcamp4girls.com, appcamp4girls.com.
Do it.
And sign up now.
Sponsor
Thanks
too. And if you can't go to the camp, sponsor it.
That's true. You can help out because, in fact, on the page there's a contribute button. You can actually help support a girl to go to App Camp. Even better. Kelly, so glad to have you. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me back on the show.
Kelly Guimont, MacBreak veteran now. MacObserver.com and Smile Software, makers of Text Expander and PDF Pen. Some great stuff. It's great to have you. Andy Ihnatko, enjoy the rest of your day with the campers in Atlantic City.
I will. I nominate that we just make it final and just let Kelly have the parking pass and the gun permit as a member of the family.
Okay, deal. Your gun permit is in the mail, Kelly.
Hooray!
You'll find more of Andy at the Chicago Sun-Times and, of course, Ihnatko. I notice you post now at ihnatko.com. Should I plug that?
CWB is a welcome page, and it's easier for me people just saying it. You're spelling it phonetically. Yeah. It's easier to find that.
So we'll start with cwob.com and take it from there. And thank you so much, Rene Ritchie, imore.com, and the fabulous Apple Talk podcast. And my personal guru. Whenever I don't know how something works, I said, I'll ask Rene. He'll know. He'll know how to take my watch band off.
Everything I learned.
We do this show every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That's now I have to change it because we've gone into summertime here. So that's 1800 UTC. I hope we didn't throw somebody if you got here late. That's what happened. We set our clocks forward. But we'll be back same time next week, and I hope you will too. If you can't make it live, you can always watch on demand. We have audio and video at twit.tv/mbw and wherever you get your favorite podcasts. But now, my friends, I am sad to say it's time to get back to work because you know what? Break time is over.